Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing marvelously well. We have a treat for you today. We're going to be talking to Sarah Longfield, guitar player, singer, songwriter, and all-round musician. What I love about Sarah is she is all about songs and songwriting. Even though she's technically a very gifted musician, she doesn't think about herself in that way at all. As you're going to discover in this interview, she really doesn't place her skill or her technical abilities highly. To her, it's all about making music, about writing songs, coming up with beautiful ideas, amazing ideas, as opposed to just showing off her technical prowess, which for me really shines through. If you listen to her music, and there will be links underneath where you can go and check it out, and also in the video, I think you'll agree that Sarah is a special musician. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the interview. I feel like when I listen to you play, there's a definitive fluency in your playing. And then when I watch you play, I realize that when you bring your right hand in like that, it's so much more articulate than a lot of players I know that are only using left hand. Is that something you heard? Did you think to yourself, oh yeah, this sounds, because it doesn't sound like you're sitting there playing tapping patterns. You're literally playing whole fluid lines and incorporating your right hand in there. Was there a conscious effort? Was it accidental? Give us a little kind of insight into the process.
It wasn't like an intentional process or anything. I just sucked and I couldn't play guitar the normal way, and no one taught me the right way. I was just like, I don't know. I didn't even know guitar tabs existed. So I was just sitting in my basement trying to learn metal songs off of YouTube recordings by ear. And I didn't know you weren't like that was weird. I didn't like, I mean, I guess you can see that people doing tapping is different than something else, but I just didn't really think much of it. And because it's so much easier, like I don't have any like arm pain or hand pain or anything because I exert no effort. Like, it's absolutely just me working like just easier, not harder. So it's just easy. I can get like really clean, consistent sounds live. And it's not like, I don't know. I didn't want it to be that way. It was just, this is just easy. So I'm going to do it.
Yeah. But then, I've watched and listened to plenty of your other stuff where you are playing more traditional left-hand stuff as well. So, I didn't know the process, what came first. So you're saying that actually came first, that was before. Interesting.
Yeah, the tapping came first. I can play like normal guitar and I can like play with all my fingers. I can use my pinky. I know everybody's like all bent out of shape about it. They're like, oh my God, Sarah Longfield used your pinky. I was like, I've always been able to. I don't know where it's here. It works. Like it's just short. And most of the time I don't need to. So yeah, I can play normally. I just don't because it seems easier to do it my way. I don't have any tendonitis. I don't have any carpal tunnel. I don't ever have to practice because there's no like muscle like that I have to build up. It's just like the movement, so I don't know. It works for me.
The most important thing is it sounds fantastic. Now, you say you don't practice. I don't believe that. I'm sure you practice.
I definitely don't. I like play guitar. If I'm about to tour, then I'll sit down and I'll play, every other day for a week or two leading up to it. Not because it's hard to play. It's because I just need to remember the songs. That's like where I struggle, is that my brain is just like, okay, we did those. They're done forever. Like we're never going to play them again. And I don't tab them out and I don't write them down. So it's like I have to relearn all my music by ear every time I go on tour because I just don't ever play it unless I'm touring. And then so that's when the practicing comes in. But other than that, I either am not playing or I'm just writing because it's like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of guitarists have this drive to get good or like get better. And I'm just like, it's fine. I'm happy where I am, whatever. Like, I don't really want to be any better than I am. I don't really care. Like I use it as just a tool to make music. And if I'm not good enough to do something that I want to do in my music, then I'll just quick learn how to do that. And then like forget how to do it later. You know what I mean? So it's literally just another like vessel for music making to me. It is not, it isn't precious.
So much of that resonates with me because One of the things about YouTube that can frustrate me at times is the overemphasis on the technical and the over understanding of everything. And while I personally, and I'm sure you're the same way, love learning and growing, I also realized that everybody I admire was a great writer, had a great sense of melody, and 99.9% of them had almost no understanding of theory and didn't sit there for hours and hours worrying about their technique. If I listen to Jeff Beck, who's the most expressive guitar player alive, he's playing pentatonic blues scales that he's reaching out and finding notes with his ear. I know, I've spent time with him. You say Lydian, Phrygian, whatever. He looks at you like, what are you talking about? To him, it's just music.
I think people try to turn it into a sport way too much. And it's like, I mean, you can, sure, if you want it to be like this weird technical sport, but the more like guidelines we set in place and the more restrictions and rules and technicalities and all of that, that just turns off newer players. They're like, wow, that's like, I don't want to have to fit this box. Also, then everybody just sounds the same. I would rather see people doing their own thing. I don't care if their technique looks like, I don't care if they're playing a sloppy, like if it's a cool thing, it's a cool thing. And I think people just get so caught up in like the hows that to like make themselves feel better. I think they're like, well, if I do this, then I'm like worthy, and you shouldn't attach your self-worth to stuff like that. It's, you know, like, nah, you're not like the guitar player. You're a human being that is like multifaceted and super interesting and very dynamic with like a whole lifetime of experiences. Like, why would you define yourself or your worth by this like one weird little thing? Because then like, what if there's something else you're like really good at and you don't even know, or there's other instruments you want to play, or like other things you want to do? Then you box yourself into this like tiny little prison cell. So I don't know. That's just my take on the whole thing.
You know, making music for other musicians, it can be fun, but it's a very slender amount of people that you're trying to impress. And of course, there's many artists who can do both. They can write incredible songs and also make music for musicians as well. I get that, but it's definitely not a prerequisite, is it, for great music to be technically incredible? But I would argue you are far more accomplished than you're admitting.
I don't know about that. I mean, like I said, it's a thing. I love playing technical music. Like when I was a kid, like I had super bad ADHD. I still have pretty bad ADHD. It's just more like reined in a little bit now that I'm older. And I just wanted to play like super fast, crazy tech death metal. Like that was all I wanted to do for no other reason than it was like as fast as my thoughts. So like I was like, cool, like these notes move as quickly as I think. Like this is totally like my thing. So I think it's so fun to play like, you know, shred stuff and like sweep picking and like crazy arpeggio runs and like legato stuff and like crazy dissonant metal riffs and necrophagist and whatever. But that's not fun to listen to. I don't think, like, I don't actively go out and listen to guitar players. Like we've done tours with like big name guitar players before, and I just can't stand it, dude. I'm just like, oh man, like, so I felt bad. Like, why am I writing this music that like is in a group of people that I don't even listen to anybody's music in this genre? Like I need to, so that's when I started branching out. Like, you know, I was like, guitar is so fun to play, but like, I just don't really like listening to it. I don't know if that's because I worked at Guitar Center for a while. That might've been like what killed a little bit for me. But yeah, I was like, I love electronic music. So that's when I started trying to like go away from guitar a little bit, or at least like, you know, include it in other things.
I saw a recent video where I think you in real time write and record a song.
I want to make another one of those videos where it's like me and my writing process. It's just hard to do that though, you know, with the camera on, because then my mind is always like, is it going to run out of battery? Is it going to stop recording? I really don't want to sit down and edit this for 5 hours, you know, like that's my gripe with YouTube. It's like, I don't want to look at my face for 5 hours. Like that's the worst. I hate editing videos. It's like the most punishing thing. I don't know how I'm still even doing YouTube at this point. Like you're like, wow, that sounds like a trait of someone that wouldn't want to do YouTube for a living. But like, here I am still doing it because it makes me a little bit of money. So
when did you start doing YouTube?
I was 14 or 13, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've actually been doing it for a really long time.
What was the impetus to get into it?
I saw this girl, I think her name was Megan the Metal Queen, and she played this Lamb of God song. And like, she was just playing the rhythm parts. And like me being like 13, I was like, I can do that. And I can do that better than her. So then I made a couple like, Lamb of God videos and a couple Necrophagist and All Shall Perish videos. And then I decided YouTube was like really stupid. And I was like, okay, this is dumb. Like, I don't even know why I did this. And I was like done with music. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to college. But then I didn't get into any colleges and I was broke. So I couldn't afford it anyways. And then I was like, oh, well, whatever. And then this guy named Steve Joe, I was starting to like make music again because like all my friends moved away. And I was like, well, now I have no friends. So I'm just going to like sit in my basement and make music. And I was like working fast food jobs at the time. And then this guy named Steve Joe like hit me up with an email and he was like, hey, I know your YouTube covers and stuff. Like you should be like writing your own music and releasing albums. And I was like, damn, that's a good idea. So then I started doing that a little bit. And then he hit me up again and was like, you should start a band. And I was like, damn, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought of those things. So then when I got in the band, they were like, duh, you need to make YouTube videos so that we can get on tour. So that's when I got back into it. And that worked. So
what's it been like this last year with no touring?
Oh, I'm fine. I was in college, I finally made it. I finally decided, like, I was like, yeah, I'm going to stop touring and go to college. And then college like was COVID. So now I was like, well, this isn't even college. And then I got this crazy job at this like huge publishing company. That's what I'm working now. So I dropped out of college like last week. So yeah, now I'm here.
Where were you born? Were you brought up?
Oh, I was born in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah, like nobody played music. There was like 4 of us in the whole school that played music. Nobody liked metal.
That's crazy because when I was touring in the very late 99, 2000, we'd like going to Madison because it was so rock-based, but not anymore.
I don't know. I mean, when I was growing up, there was a good like underground like grindcore scene, like, like sludge, like grindcore, like slam. That was like cool. But then they shut down all those venues because they were mostly out of like storage spaces and stuff. Well, it was weird because I grew up on like the edge of the city outside of Madison, but like right next to a bunch of rich kids. Like nobody really was into that. They were like, yeah, my dad's going to get me a job at like Nike, so I don't need to do any of that. And I was like, I'm really weird and need to have a focus. So this is the thing that I'm going to do. And ooh.
My band opened for Godsmack for about 3 months. And whenever we were going to like the Midwest, it was like all bets are off. You'd play like these warehouses like you're talking about. And there was just like 1,500 kids just like going absolutely insane. It was crazy. Yeah, anywhere in the Midwest was just all out war. And during the day, we would do shows at like 3 p.m. and they'd be packed.
Used to be good from what I hear. I have like older friends that used to play shows in the 2000s and then they did really, really well. And I graduated high school in 2011 and that's like right when things started to go downhill. So there was a little bit of a local scene for a couple of years. It was cool. And then it just kind of like, I don't know, just fell apart,
Does music figure in people's lives there at all anymore?
Yeah, it's tough because it's like a college town. So a lot of people cycle in and out every few years. And a lot of the like bands that were in the metal scene are like all getting older and they have kids and stuff. So they're not really as involved. I mean, I don't live there anymore. So I guess I don't know. And I haven't been able to play in Minneapolis because we moved here and then like 4 months later, COVID hit. So
during COVID, you've been writing and recording some new material, presumably?
Like a bunch of different things. I'm working on this crazy like dark electronic pop record that's been like in the making for a really long time. And then I'm working on another guitar album. And then I'm like working on another record with my old band. We're going to get back together for some shows.
And when are you hoping post-pandemic to go and play some shows again?
Well, I can't like talk about with who, but I tentatively have like a small run of shows booked in November, like late November. Okay. So that's the plan for now. We'll see, what happens. Hoping to get vaccinated next week. So maybe,
I'm a trad sort of rock and roll guy, which means all my guitars have 6 strings and they all have tuning pegs at the top and they have headstocks and stuff. You, on the other hand, are a lot more modern than I am, to say the least. So give me a little bit of schooling in your gear and what you're using.
Well, that wasn't intentional either. That just kind of like this whole thing was just like a weird accident. So I love Strandberg guitars. I think they're amazing. Obviously, I endorse them and they have my signature guitar. So I must think they're good. I do. But like 10 years ago, I was getting a custom built. I'd made enough money off my first EP to like buy a custom guitar. And I was like, oh yeah, this is sick. Like, and then this company built it all wrong. And like, I was like, oh, well, that's kind of a bummer. It's like not what I ordered at all. They messed up like all the woods, all the specs, like everything was just messed up. And they were like, oh, well, we're doing prototypes for Strandberg in the US. Do you just like want one of those instead? And I was like, yeah, that's sick. So they sent me one of those. And then Ola saw me making videos with it and was like, hey, we should like work together. Do you want to be an artist for my company? And I was like, yes, that would be great. Your guitar feels amazing. And so that's how that whole thing started. As for like amps and stuff, I mean, I love all amps. I'm not like tube amps are the best or digital modeling or like plugins or I don't care. Like I think you can get a good tone out of anything if you know what you're doing. So it's like, whatever. I love the way tube amps feel. I hate carrying them. So I'll never play it live again. You know what I mean? Like we did one 6.5-week tour where I had my Angle Powerball 2 and an Orange 412. And it was like, never again. Like I dropped the orange cabinet on my foot and I broke it on tour. And I was like, this ain't it. I've toured with like an Axe FX before and other small modeling units. And so, yeah, I don't know.
Do you have a preference in emulations, plugins, any particular ones that you like?
I like all of them. I like the Neural DSP plugins. I've been using the new Fractal FM3, which is cool. I have like a NUX or NUX, like little tiny $200, $300 thing that also sounds really good. I love the Line 6 HX Stomp. Like I like all of them. You know what I mean? I'm like, anything I can get cool, weird tones out of, I'm down with it. So.
And then as for playing more than 6 strings?
For the past couple of years, I've been playing pretty much exclusively 6 strings, believe it or not. Right. I never been like, oh, Sarah Longfield, no pinky, only 8 strings. I'm like, wrong. The last 2 records were on only 6 strings. Yeah. So I don't know. Again, that's the same thing. It's like 8 strings feel the same to me as 6 strings or 7 strings. Like it's all the same thing, it does. My brain doesn't recognize it as like a difference in difficulty or like in how I do what I do. I guess sometimes with an 8 string, I'll make more percussive stuff, like more like fast, tappy percussive stuff. And I usually will do like more melodic, slower voiced things on a 6 string, but that seems to be just like what happens. It isn't intentional. So I don't know. It's all the same to me, man. I really love the Maris pedals. I think they're doing some really weird things. And there's other pedals I use that I'm just spacing the name on. My quarantine activity was like diving to modular synths again, because I got into it like 5 or 6 years ago and then stepped back because I was like, I cannot afford this hobby at all. And then I was like, now I can. Cool. So I have not been thinking about guitar pedals or guitar really. I've just been working on modular synth stuff and electronic music. So
any idea on an ETA on that record?
I'm hoping for the end of summer. It all depends on, job things and work things and other like obligations, advertising deals I've got for my own stuff that's separate from my job. So
you got a working title for the album?
No, not yet. Album titles, song names, and lyrics. Like I have no emotional connection to any of it. It's just like whatever I can think of on the spot that sounds good enough to get the record out. Everybody's like, oh, I spend weeks like thinking about this, or this is the concept behind it. I'm like, I don't know. Those words sounded cool together. Like I have no connection or attachment to it. It just happened.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about with the songwriting is quite often things that sound good and work together, either musically or lyrically. They can actually have more meaning because they do come from you, but just spending 6 hours coming up with 2 words doesn't make those 2 words any more important than if you came up with them in 6 seconds. And I think that's it's interesting, isn't it? How people will overanalyze something. I can think of so many times a songwriter will be like, nope, that's not what I was thinking.
That's interesting to me. I have some friends that are like, they will sit on a riff and just try to make it like the most perfect riff ever. And I'll just like make a riff and be like, whatever, we're going with it. Like, this is what I'm rolling with. If it's shit, I'll just make another record. Like, I don't care at all. So right. Different mindsets, I guess.
I've seen many artists come into a studio with the same 3 songs that they have demoed with 4 different producers, thinking that the producer is going to make one of those 3 songs into a hit, when when we know really just go write some more songs.
Yep. People are scared too. They think they're going to write a shitty song. I'm like, that's like part of it. I have probably like 3,000 shitty songs that I've written, and then like 40 that are like passably good enough to put out. You know, it's like, like you just can't get attached to it like that, in my opinion.
That plays into so many of the great songwriters. Carole King said exactly the same thing. I don't remember the number, but I want to say she said she wrote 300 bad songs before she wrote a good one. Something pretty crazy like that.
You just got to do it. You know, it's like food. Like most of the time you're going to eat like TV dinners unless you're like a chef, but sometimes you're going to cook yourself something good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like that's just my analogy, because I'm like such a shit cook. Like I'll just be like, yeah, we're having potato chips for dinner. So it's like, you know, whatever, I'll make a bunch of shitty songs, and then like, you know, sometimes I'll make some good ones maybe.
Well, I'm looking forward to the electronic, the modular synth album. I think that should be really, really cool.
Thanks. We'll see. That's going to be a very different turn. So
thanks ever so much. Hope you enjoyed that. Please check out the rest of the videos in this series. We have been interviewing a lot of absolutely amazing people, and I really look forward to interviewing a lot more. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing, and so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir. Please leave comments and questions below, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Goodbye.